This podcast is a member of the Red 5 Network. For more Red 5 Network podcasts and content creators, visit bio.link/Red5.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back. I see a couple of you actually hopped in the chat here. Welcome. I see Nicole, Megan, Nick. Thank you all for hopping in. I actually didn't expect anybody to jump in except for maybe Nick, since it's not late at night over there. I'm just jumping on for a few minutes to talk about some things. If you've got something you want to talk about, anything that's coming up soon, or anything that's going on, any news, let me know. If you'd like a link, let me know, and I'll send you a link to just jump in here with me and talk if you'd like to. Yes, Megan, we are going to party until dawn. No, hopefully not, because I have some work to do, but Marisha is working on a TV set, so I tried to wait for her to get home to do this, but I don't really know when she's coming home. I know they were waiting till it got dark to film some scenes, so she may be really, really late putting the goats to bed. Yeah, I don't have any goats I have to put to bed. I do have children, but they're not home tonight, so I just got done cooking myself some dinner, and I'm waiting on Marisha to get home. But so what's going on? What are y'all looking forward to? There's a lot of stuff coming up. There's She-Hulk this week. I've seen a couple of reactions. I think the embargo hadn't lifted yet, so no one is really putting real reviews out there because, frankly, it's that they're not allowed to, but they're allowed to do social media reactions. And so because they're doing the social media reactions, there's a few people out there that I kind of respect their opinion on stuff, and they are they're happy with it. They're happier. These are people that weren't sure it was going to be for them, and they're enjoying it. They said the humor's good. They said the CGI looked better than the trailers. So, yeah, hopefully that's going to be a lot better. And yes, Megan, that is Thursday night. So that's kind of our next big thing. Because we're still waiting. We've still got a while before. What is the release date for? What is the release date for Andor? I forgot what that was, because that's kind of the big one coming up. Let's see, Andor, September 21st. I forgot that they pushed it back to September 21st instead of that August release date. I don't really understand why they did that, unless they're just trying to finish She-Hulk up. Maybe they got nervous about dropping things on top of each other after Obi-Wan and what was it? Obi-Wan and Miss Marvel. I agree, Nick. I think it's got potential to be a big one. It's I'm not sure, but it's one that I haven't been that big on the trailers, but I like the concepts. I'm curious to see what they're going to do. This is kind of the same thing that's happening with Rings of Power that's, I think, causing some problems. A lot of the early bashing of Rings of Power and She-Hulk, people that are out there bashing these two shows that haven't even come out yet, and frankly have shown us very little. And they are mostly being bashed based on things said by the actors. These actors keep getting really, really political with everything. I would have thought Marvel would have learned a lesson after the Eternals and kind of, tightened the reins a little bit on what actors should be saying while they're out there. And I thought Amazon had a better grip on all that from the start. But there's a couple of actors. Now, granted, a couple of things the actors from the Rings of Power series have said, really not that big a deal. There's just a select group of fans out there that are making it a bigger thing than it is. But what are y'all looking forward to the most? I mean, the four big ones are the three big ones. We've got She-Hulk, Rings of Power, and Andor. So that's interesting because with those we've got, um, even though Andor and She-Hulk are on the same, they're all on Disney Plus. They're still competing studios. Marvel and Lucasfilm are competing studios, even though they're under the same umbrella. So really, three big projects from three different studios. Which one are y'all looking forward to the most, if anybody's still there? And I'm just mostly here tonight because I have switched. I decided to switch from StreamYard to the Melon app, and I needed to check it out and see if I could use it. And it appears to be running fine. How does everything look good on your end? I believe that everything is up and running right. Although I really want to take that chat box away. I didn't mean to put that there. Although, what do y'all think? The chat box in the screen, is that something that's useful? It wouldn't be useful if I had guests in here, I don't think. Nick is most excited for Andor. Let's see, Nicole, if you're still here, what are you most excited for? Yeah, Nicole, I'm still really nervous about Rings of Power. It's one that I'm not quite sure. Yeah, the fuzziness, it could either be connection speed, which it shouldn't be. Um, it could also be that these apps all only let you stream in 720 instead of 1080. So it's a good chance that it's just my resolution. But I'll have to check it out and see if I can figure out some way to make it look less fuzzy. It could just be my camera. It's a decent camera. It's not a great camera. So Nicole, what specifically makes you nervous about um, Rings of Power at this point? I just kind of want to see if what you're thinking lines up with what I'm thinking. Nick, as far as what is the next Star Wars MCU animation, I think that's going to have to be Bad Batch. I'm not aware. Marvel does have a couple of animated things coming up with zombies, and um, I guess they're doing a What If season 2, but I don't think they've announced release dates for those things. So um, presumably, I mean, we're already in August, mid-August, and I thought we were getting the Bad Batch this year, but now I'm beginning to question that, knowing that Andor is going to be a little bit longer of a series. But it is surprising that we aren't hearing. Actually, they're saying Bad Batch season 2 will premiere on September 28th, 2022 is the most recent thing I see, but I can't imagine that that's true because that's way too close to the new release date for Andor. It looks like they moved Andor into the Bad Batch's spot. So I guess we'll see. Maybe they will try to do Bad Batch in between Andor and that's true. We do have D23 coming up real soon. What weekend is D23? I'm wondering if that's going to be the same weekend I'm doing Dragon Con. I know it's real close. Yeah, I mean that's the big concern, and this is the thing that I've been thinking about. You know, there are changes. There's things you can do. I'm not too concerned about. I know a lot of people are making a big to do about the casting choices. Yeah, Nick, Cobra Kai. I can't wait for that new season of Cobra Kai. And that's coming real soon too, like this month or next, right? Um, as far as what they're doing with Tolkien, a lot of people are making a big to do about the casting and changing, the race of characters. And I really think Marisha and I have talked a lot about that. And yes, you can make a really strong argument that it's not even an argument; it's a fact that Tolkien created his story. his world to be a stand-in mythology for England. Because when the Normans showed up, first when the Romans showed up, and then again when the Normans showed up, they basically erased the mythology of that part of Europe. And so he loved his country and all that. And so yes, he created it to be a mythology for England. That's the way it works out. However, it has become so much bigger than that. And as Marisha said earlier, it went from being this thing he created to be a mythology for England and has become a sort of mythology for the world. And I think including other people into that story, people that love that story and want to be a part of it, why would you not? So I think that people that are harping on the race of the actors, I don't care. I just want good actors to play the parts. I think people that are harping on that are really they're making some good arguments unrelated to that about what we're talking about, Nicole, with just ignoring Tolkien's themes and adding modern day stuff. Like they're making those arguments too, but they're burying those arguments under the arguments about race, and it makes people immediately turn off their opinions. If they would drop that and focus on the real issues, which is will they stay with Tolkien's themes? Now, I will say that the showrunners are saying all the right things, like all the right things about Tolkien's story is not allegory. He didn't want it to be allegory. Had nothing to do with modern politics. Um, that it's I think to make anything Tolkien about modern politics, whichever way you leaned, it's really unrelated to Tolkien's world. Tolkien's world is a purely good versus evil, and not on a political spectrum, but on a religious spectrum. It is an inherently religious story. It's an inherently Catholic story. It is Christianity, and it is firmly rooted in that. And yes, to ignore those themes would be tragic. Um, and so it's going to be really, really interesting to see. I don't trust actors when actors come out and start saying, "Well, my character is this or that," and like one of them saying, "My character is an activist." I don't know what that means. That may be something that they told her to get to get her to perform the way they wanted her to. I don't know. It's just I don't trust what actors say because they get in whatever headspace they need to play a character, and they also don't see the whole picture. They get to see the whole picture along with us. That something this big, they're not seeing everything that's happening. And also, these people, it's really easy to forget that a lot of these actors don't have a religious perspective at all. And the fact that they can be in something like this and just not see the religious aspects just embedded in it are not that big of a surprise because they don't understand Christianity. They don't know Christianity. So when they don't recognize it, that doesn't surprise me. But yeah, the Tolkien stuff, I'm really looking forward to this series. I really hope it's amazing, and I'm putting all my hope right now in the fact that the showrunners have said all the right things the whole way through. Every time they've shown up, I think that Amazon is making a huge mistake by not just putting them front and center all the time, because they keep saying the right things, and the actors keep trying to make it political. I go back to the MCU, the Eternals movie. That movie was not. I mean, it's the worst. I think it's the worst rated movie in the MCU. It is not even close to the worst movie in the MCU. It's a good mid-tier Marvel movie, but their advertising campaign was all about diversity, 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 and diversity can't be the primary thing. If you're going to do if you want to have a diverse cast, that's on you. They're spending their money. They can make these things how they want. And so what I'm pointing out is the error in the marketing. Instead of selling their story, they try to sell their politics. And by selling their politics, they're really, really missing the boat on um, on selling these new things to people. And I think that the Eternals did that, and I think Rings of Power is making all those same mistakes, and I think She-Hulk is making those mistakes. And I hope it's as good as some of the early reactions that I saw tonight. Speaking of the Rings of Power, the Rings of Power had their red carpet event tonight, which means we should start seeing at least some. I don't know when their embargo lifts, but we should start seeing some social media reactions. So it's just some quick, non-specific reactions to whatever they were shown at the red carpet event tonight. So I'm hoping they were shown like the first 2 episodes, so we can get a good idea of how people, because the only reactions we have to any of it so far are from like some hardcore Tolkien YouTubers, really, who were just basically almost paid to say good things. And not all of them did. Some of them did the right thing and have been very honest. If you're looking for good Tolkien news, just a pure Tolkien channel, Nerd of the Rings is probably the best one out there, and have been very, very honest with their reviews and the way they've approached this new series. But yeah, I agree with that completely, Nick. And this is why I don't go by what actors are saying. Actors say a lot of things, and actors are almost always going to try to pull their politics into it. So I'm just going to pretty much go with what the showrunners are saying, and I'm going to stay hopeful about this show. I didn't already talk about J.K. Rowling. What has happened with J.K. Rowling now? Thanks for joining, by the way, Ray. But no, I have not talked about J.K. Rowling. See, I think Ro actually like just plugs into a USB port and recharges while he's editing. Oh, that actually wasn't J.K. Rowling. Actually, I have a lot of respect for J.K. Rowling as a writer, even though I'm not a big Harry Potter fan or anything. I do respect her as a writer. It was actually E.K. Johnston. And yes, E.K. Johnston. Of course, this is the new thing, right? So there are a lot of younger writers who are extraordinarily jealous. Yeah, it is one of those with initials. Extraordinarily jealous of Tolkien, specifically that he still occupies a lot of shelf space in bookstores. They want that shelf space for themselves. They're up and coming writers. They want that shelf space, and I understand that. But to belittle Tolkien because you think you deserve the shelf space, the bottom line is a bookstore is a business, and Tolkien books, despite the fact that they were written a long time ago, are still the best-selling, most years, the best-selling fantasy books out there. Tolkien gets that shelf space because he sells. Tolkien. So yeah, E.K. Johnston basically said that Tolkien was just a sanctimonious windbag, and that he could write beautifully. That he had his moments, but most of those were just in the songs that everybody skips over anyway. And that's really, like, from someone who's not writing anything much above the level of glorified fan fiction. That's quite the statement. But yeah, they've got to earn that shelf space. If you can sell as many books as Tolkien, despite the fact that his books came out way before you were born, then you earn that space. But bookstores are going to sell what they're going to put on their shelf what sells, especially given that bookstores do everything they can, or doing everything they can just to survive. I mean, they've basically become the new toy store, right? Like video, board games and Funko Pops, um, and I don't hate EK. We had EK Johnston on our show. We had a really great interview with EK. I've met her at Dragon Con. I think she's well intentioned, but yeah, to disparage Tolkien, when you okay, so this is someone that thinks that I can't even remember the writer's name that wrote the Twilight books. She thinks that that writer is more important to the literary world than J.R.R. Tolkien. And yeah, Nicole, we've met her. We've gotten pictures with her at Dragon Con, and she's fun. She's fun to go to her panels and stuff. And I actually enjoyed some of her books, even though she has been one of the people that keeps putting more and more sexual content into her Star Wars books. She's one of the reasons that I have to read the Star Wars books before my kids can read them. So I don't appreciate that. Yes, she thinks that the most important writer in the fantasy space is the person that wrote the Twilight books. I'd have to go back and look to find. I know I've seen her say that, but it wasn't in the comments yesterday. I know I've seen her say that in the past. But I've also this is something she does occasionally is attack Tolkien as mediocre. Let's see. Somebody said something. Yellow suit. I'm actually really stoked about the yellow Daredevil suit, if that's what it ends up being. I know the picture that was going around that looked really good was actually a fan-made piece that everybody thought was real. Now, in the She-Hulk trailer, he's definitely got some yellow in that suit, but I don't know if it's as much yellow as was in that suit that was going around the internet last week. But yeah, I mean, I'm really excited about the yellow Daredevil suit, and actually, that's an episode that I'll have coming out later this week. Me and David talked at length about the yellow suit. So I like it. I like that they're going back to the roots of the character. I think that's fun. I'm curious. I'm just really excited to see Daredevil again. I still would say that Daredevil is far and away the best superhero or comic book TV show ever made. I don't think anything really comes close. And I did see someone the other day that said that the yellow and red Daredevil suit is the only real proof that Matt Murdock is blind. Let's see. So yes, that would be amazing, Nick. I'm really hoping that we get a Stargate announcement. When is GateCon? I haven't kept up with that. We've been trying to get ready to go to Dragon Con, and so we're gonna be doing that. Labor Day weekend, we will be going to Dragon Con, and we're gonna hopefully do a little more video and some interviews and stuff while we're there. We usually don't do a lot of that at cons, but I think we're going to give that a go this time. That is actually really cool. Yeah, they've done some interesting things with the Tusken Raider language. Like for the faults with some things that have been done at Lucasfilm, they're still doing some really cool things over there. And I've always said that the world that Lucas created is the only thing that I've ever come across that has the potential to be a world that rivals Middle Earth. But it's going to be interesting to see what that Rings of Power series looks like. Dragon Con? Yeah. When is Dragon Con? Labor Day weekend. Because I remember you did talk about coming this year. GateCon is actually the same weekend as Dragon Con. So that's why I hadn't heard anything about it. We've actually got uh, several Stargate actors that are going to be at Dragon Con as well. Who is Dragon Con? Why is Dragon Con? But yeah, Dragon Con is Labor Day weekend. So that right there, end of August is, so yeah, Dragon Con, Gate Con. I know there's another big one I think in Florida that weekend, and D23 should be like that weekend or the weekend before. It makes sense that GateCon is in Canada, since that's where they, made everything. So one day I'm going to talk some of y'all into coming to Dragon Con, because we make a big thing. We do, Dragon Con is 5 days long, and we're usually there for 6. So by the way, if you are interested in going to Dragon Con, the cheapest time to buy Dragon Con tickets for next year is during this year's event, or for like the month after. They steadily go up throughout the year. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just I'm still playing with all these new features and trying to figure this out here. Let's see. I lost my chat. There we go. So what else? What else is out there? I know Resident Alien is back. I've got to catch up on that. I think I must be 2 episodes behind on that one now. And somehow, some way, I've got to talk Ro into watching the Orville. I'm not sure how that's going to happen, Ro, but it's going to happen. I'm just going to like tie you to a chair at Scarif Con next year and use toothpicks to hold your eyes open. But I still have to watch. Ro, are you watching Strange New Worlds? Because I've still got to start that one. But everything else, I've watched all of the other Trek stuff, and season 3 of the Orville is better than anything Trek has done since the Next Generation Deep Space Nine era. See, Nick, I think you would actually really like the Orville, especially if you just picked it up with season 3. Like, if you're concerned about Seth MacFarlane's humor, it's really not that much in there. It's nothing like anything else Seth MacFarlane's done. But season 3 is really not. There's very little comedy in it at all. Actually, it's actually very serious sci-fi. But yeah, I've seen you talking about Strange New Worlds, and I will definitely be starting that pretty soon. I've got 1 episode left on this season of the Orville, and then I will probably be starting that. Because I want to watch it before some of the stuff, before Rings of Power and all that stuff starts. Nicole, don't let the fact that it's Seth MacFarlane scare you away from it. It's not. It doesn't have any more comedy in it at any point than the Next Generation did at times. Yeah, I haven't seen a lot on that. I have just heard a lot of people saying at this point I would be okay with them. Have they even said which is Strange New Worlds? Which timeline is it in? Because it seems to me that that Star Trek Discovery really just wrecked the original timeline anyway. So at this point, I don't even know like how to and that between that and having the Kelvin timeline, I don't really know what's what in the Trek universe anymore. It actually kind of scares me. That's a prospect that scares me a little bit as far as wanting new Stargate. I want new Stargate, but I'm scared they will do something like create a new timeline or something crazy. I don't want a reboot. I want a continuation. That's great. See, that's the kind of stuff I don't understand. Like, um, I mean, almost just by virtue of having, um, almost by virtue of just having Pike as the captain, it's got to be a different timeline, right? Hey, welcome to the chat. Um, but yeah, I do want. I'm very curious about it. But yeah, I don't really see how any of that can really be prime timeline. It seems almost like another alternate timeline. That's what I always assumed it was supposed to be. A direct sequel, a direct prequel to the original series. Okay. I mean, I guess that works, but you know, if you're doing the same stories like the Gorn, even if it's good, like it does seem like you're stepping um, on the stories. But I am definitely going to check it out because I'm excited about the prospect of seeing anything resembling original Star Trek or the Next Generation era Star Trek. Because I just haven't been able to get into the others, and I still haven't watched Picard season 2. And I didn't think Picard season 1 was the worst thing I'd ever watched, but I don't know. It got time for Picard season 2, and I just had trouble even wanting to watch it. All right. Well, let's see. Anybody got anything else before I wrap up for the night? I've got to get something more stable. Part of the reason this is fuzzy is because my camera's shaking. I do like literature, which is when we talk about a lot of things like Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and things like that here. In fact, if you go back and find our podcast, you can find the Science Fictionary podcast anywhere that you listen to podcasts, and you will find some older episodes titled our Pillar series. So you can find the Pillars of Sci-Fi and the Pillars of Fantasy, and you will find that there are at least 3, if not 4, full episodes there dedicated specifically to sci-fi literature and fantasy literature. The next mega crossover Scarif science fictionary episode, it needs to happen. It's been a while. I think everybody got busy trying to get ready for Scarif Con, which I'm still sad that I didn't make it to. We were not going to be able to make it anyway, and as it turned out, we ended up with COVID that weekend anyway. So that was fun. But yeah, it seemed like we had a topic that we were supposed to be doing, Ro, if you remember what it was. I'll have to go back. We had an interesting topic, and it was related to something that I put out. So I think I can probably figure out what it was. The marketing for those books is awful. Which books have you read, Nick? I have read, I'll be honest, I started the first book and I got about 3 chapters into it and I put it down and I haven't picked it back up, and I've read like 3 other books in the meantime. I am hoping to go back to it. There are some things that were really kind of silly to me that seem to conflict with how old the Star Wars universe is supposed to be. They're doing a lot of things that make me really, really worried that they are compressing the timeline a lot, and that we're never going to see anything Old Republic, that they're basically just going to ignore that era ever having existed, and that if they want to bring characters in, yeah, that's the one I started, was Light of the Jedi. I'm scared that they're going to compress the timeline so much that the High Republic is essentially going to take the place of the Old Republic. I really hope not, but the fact that they haven't done anything in the Old Republic era, but they keep doing things. I really didn't like that. One of the big things, well, the navigator on the vessel called the Vessel is one of the, I don't know, that's the sort of stuff you write in children's books, not adult novels. Um, so I really didn't appreciate some of that, some of what I just perceived as a little bit more childishness to that book. Did not the rock dude, yeah, the navigator on the vessel. Why the ship is called the Vessel? That's really ridiculous. But yes, then Geode. Um, it's just kind of a silly idea, and I know that I haven't read the whole book, and so maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's more to it. And eventually, I will read that book. I've bought them. If you, I don't know how much of my shelf you can actually see, but there's quite a few of those books back there. Um, most of them, in fact. So I've bought them. I will be reading them. I am currently reading a series called the Wingfeather Saga, that was written by a Christian musician by the name of Andrew Peterson. My children read the books and absolutely fell in love with them. That's a fantasy series. I would say that it's like a mix of C.S. Lewis with a little, but the tone of it is a little more like Princess Bride. And there's a Angel Studios, the same studio that does the Chosen TV series, which is excellent, is releasing season 1 of a series based on the Wingfeather saga in December, I believe. So I'm trying to read all 4 of those books to do a review with the kids um, before the show comes out, because I'd like to read the books before the show comes out. But yeah, the Geode and the Vessel are not in Light of the Jedi. Okay, well, I must have been reading a different one, but it's one of the adult books. I will just have to look back and see which one it was, but they were doing this thing. More than that, I think those things are silly, but aren't enough to make me dislike the book. Doing stuff that I perceive as shortening the timeline does bother me. And acting like the whole idea of hyperspace travel is relatively new and not fully understood, when the galaxy should already be, when hyperspace travel has really already been around for thousands of years. That bugs me. That makes me think that they are going to just totally obliterate the existence of the Old Republic, which is one of the better eras. I mean, the 3 best stories ever told in the Star Wars universe are the original trilogy, the Heir to the Empire series, and Knights of the Old Republic 1. So I would really hate to see them. And they were making that Old Republic, Knights of the Old Republic remake, which has been completely scrubbed. So yeah, you're saying that that's the second book that has those in it. So maybe I did finish the first book and started the second book. Or maybe I started with the second book, but that doesn't seem right because I bought it when they first started. So, but yeah, I will read those books and I will read the comics because before I realized there was going to be a lot of stuff I just didn't care about at all in them. I think I have a first run collection of the entire first arc of the comic books for the High Republic as well. So once I finish the Wingfeather Saga, though, those are next on my list to read. I'm trying really hard. I'm trying to read those, and I'm also trying to reread the Silmarillion before which I don't know why I'm reading the Silmarillion before this new Rings of Power series comes out, since it has nothing to do with the Silmarillion, but I'm doing it anyway. Yeah, so I definitely read that book, Nick. So I'm assuming that I read the first book and basically forgot about the whole story and just compressed the first book and the first few chapters of the second book into one thing. Because that is definitely the book I definitely read that book, but I definitely also started the one with Geode. But I do like Claudia Gray as a writer. But she's also guilty of inserting things into the books that don't belong in Star Wars books. All right, guys. Well, I am going to call it a night. I think I've got the hang of the new streaming app here, and coming up, because we have so many things, I want to start doing more here on YouTube. Yeah, I do appreciate that. But we're looking at getting back into a regular schedule. We've had a lot going on, and we're going to get back into a regular schedule, which will, for now, mean a Coruscant Radio Underground on Tuesdays, a Science Fictionary on Thursdays. And because we're really enjoying covering TV series releases over here on YouTube, I think we're going to probably start doing a 3-day-a-week YouTube stream. I don't know what days yet. I don't know what time. They won't be this late. But I've still got to figure all that out. But thank you to everybody who jumped in here tonight. And it was fun. It was a fun hangout. I was a little afraid that I wasn't going to have anybody in here and my stream was going to last for about 5 minutes. So thanks for showing up and giving me some stuff to talk about. And as always, if you're watching this, you can find us on Twitter at Sci_Fictionary. And you can drop us a line at thesciencefictionary@gmail.com. I agree, Megan. It's an ambitious schedule, but I'm rearranging my work schedule to spend one entire day of the week doing nothing but podcast stuff. So there's going to be a lot more material, and this week I will be using that day to get all the Parsec Awards stuff out. So there's going to be a big wave sometime later this week of a bunch of stuff related to that. So keep an eye out for that. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go back and do some more work while I wait on Marisha to come home. And until next time, guys, may the Force be with you.
This podcast is a member of the Red 5 Network. For more Red 5 Network podcasts and content creators, visit bio.link/Red5.